Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be going over and looking at our little Bitcoin trading that's been taking place the last few weeks. We're also going to drop in and take a look at Ethereum and Litecoin for those of you that are fans as well. But with that in mind, let's just do a quick dive in and give you the intro. Boom, so super easy. We have Bitcoin open on the 4-hour chart currently. I know it's been a while since we've gone live. We even almost took a week off, but we figured it was time to drop in and see how everybody's been doing. Now, one of the things that's really interesting right now is that first off, trading Bitcoin is fun as hell, right? Investing in it is a heck of a lot easier. Trading, probably not meant for most people. It's maybe too much of an active lifestyle to be in the trader mentality. Investing is significantly more simple when you just put long-term bets on fundamentals and you walk away. We will be doing more videos in the educational series that go into these types of differences and really try to address the beginner, entry levels that we've been seeing. Is that there's a lot more people now joining the Bitcoin and blockchain cryptocurrency space that are new to the area, and we will also want to provide them valuable information. So I've been here for a few years and I get all excited and amped up on these charts and technicals, and it's probably a little bit more difficult for other people to understand. But one of the things I wanted to look at today was Bitcoin's price outlook for the next little while. Now, for those of you that are part of the Private Bear family members or spend any time in our Telegram channels or even maybe following us on TradingView, one of the things that we've been watching is the fact that I believe we are in a fourth wave of consolidation right now that's going to give us a much higher fifth wave and then portray itself into a much larger one wave, and this story plays out. Now, I have done previous videos where I believe that there's only three real choices. So if we are incorrect in this idea of it being a fourth wave and we saw that this was actually a fifth wave, we could come down quite a bit lower to retest some of the areas around 6,000, maybe even to 4,000. But my current area of conjecture is probably testing around somewhere of $7,700 and $9,600 again. Now, we've seen a lot of run up here. I've got a few trend lines drawn on this particular page, and what I want to point out is that there are some areas of interest that we've hit. Now, as you can see, we've actually stubbed up a few times against this top trend line. Now, again, the reason why I've cut some of the candles off here is because those are like explosive wicks. I try to follow where there's a bit more interim and median volume on these plays. So here you see we actually have both the up and down of the current volume spikes, and same here too. We actually cut right through the center of those as well as these where we're currently watching. Now, the fact that we haven't been able to break above this with any particular momentum is not a bullish sign. Now, on the weekly chart, we're actually seeing some bullish signals that show us we had a candle that basically chewed up all of the selling that had taken place inside of our previous areas. So if we go out to the weekly here and take a look at this, you can see what that looks like. Again, it's not as noticeable with these lines that I've drawn through it, but this particular candle here, these are a tweezer pattern, and it just chewed up all of the sales volume that we had and went into a buy. So it's actually a strong bullish signal on the weekly there, but we also see, again, decreasing volumes over the last few weeks into Bitcoin's momentum. Now, again, generally what that means is that we're going to find further consolidation, and it also leads us into the area where I feel fairly confident that fourth waves are always this abstract, awkward feeling. Everyone gets super excited as it starts to go back up again. Oh, we're going straight to $20,000 when we had just retested this $9,000 area once, twice, three times. I think a lower test of these areas and probably around $9,350 is where we're going to come back down to. This would further, increase the likelihood of this particular triangle that's been forming. Now, we have a long-term trend line here as well. I mean, this is a little flexible, but you could put it as we have multiple bottoms here and then breakout and then bottom test here, and then as we broke below it. If we can't break above it and outside of this $13,282 area, we're definitely going to continue to consolidate sideways and lower. Again, this is not what I'm trying to show here is that we have a lot of support and resistance coming up to this $12,000 and $13,000 area where we'd have to break above and stay on top of this trend line to continue higher. And although I do believe we are going to continue much, much, much higher in Bitcoin in terms of over the long price speculations, what's important here for me is that I'll give you an example. When I first bought some of my first Bitcoins, I bought them near an all-time high. Not the first ones, but some of the later ones. I bought it at $1,000 when Bitcoin was like peaking out around 2012, 2013. And then I watched it come crashing back down all the way to $200. And that is what sparked my severe interest, not only for financial purposes, but for just my own entertainment to understanding these ecosystems. So even though I'm not actively trading Bitcoin, I actually trade the opposites. I trade the altcoins because they have a lot of momentum and speculation coming into them on the reverse if you can catch them and you know where the whales are playing. Again, that's a lot of you need to know a lot of other factors to play in the trading space successfully. So I don't suggest most people do that, although with the right amount of education, understanding, and I guess risk, you can actually do quite well with that. We've seen some massive returns over the last few years in speculating on, I guess, the altcoin space. So Bitcoin right now is in this awkward area. I do believe we're going to come back down and test it. I've actually been sitting on the same theory since around $13,000 that we would come down to test around the $7,000 area. And the reason I believe that, there's a few co-aligning factors, but right now even on the daily we see there's a lot of support on the outer bear claw edge at around 6,800, although I do believe we consolidate higher than that. To basically the bottom of the cloud potentially, or the 21 weekly moving average, which is currently sitting around $8,800. Now, again, on the weekly, we look quite bullish. It's only when we move into these smaller time frames, like the daily, where we start to see the resistance of these triangles that are taking place. Now again, decreasing volume here through the last week. If we look down at the bottom of our volume indicators here, this has been in steady decline in volume. So it seems likely that we would also continue in a steady decline, and the fact that our RSI has not peaked out here. Now if we see a quick turn up and we peak out and bump up to around 12,500, we are still below this major trend line, and also therefore not in a bullish case scenario, and still likely in that fourth wave consolidation that we had been watching for the last few weeks. Now, apparently YouTube wants me to produce videos all the time, because when I don't, the algorithm just absolutely screws with us. So if you're here and you're enjoying our content so far, please remember to give us those thumbs up. I'm going to take a look at Litecoin and Ethereum just a little bit further on. So if you guys are interested in that, even though this is a live stream, we will do that probably around the 15-minute mark. So that's around 7 minutes and 30 seconds away from where we are right now. I will look at both Litecoin and Ethereum versus Bitcoin, because again, we exited Litecoin around 17,000 Satoshis when everyone's like, it's going to the moon, it's Bitcoin, Litecoin happening. Yeah, it's really important to pay attention to everyone and aggregate data from as many possible places, because that way you don't end up with an echo chamber of what you believe to be correct. It's a very hard thing to do. It's probably one of the hardest things in almost any field of study, is not to get locked in an echo chamber and actually become friends with the people that are antithetical to what you believe, because it makes for a much stronger argument and a significantly better rounded scientific discussion, or Socratic discussion. Okay, so now that we've already covered the fact that if we don't break out above this particular trend line, which is around 12,500, 12,700, and more importantly around the $13,000, $1,600 area, we're going to continue to test this. All it will do is change the second top, right? This may not have been a secondary top test. We could actually bend this line up further here and now be like, oh, the test of the top of the secondary top was here at around 11,600, or sorry, 12,700. So these are all flexible when you're charting. That's why I think paying attention on a consistent basis can be so valuable for people that are learning, is because you want to be able to pay attention to your work on multiple time frames. Not just on the weekly or these large time frames, which is much better for the investing mentality, but if you are interested in trading, or at least understanding and learning how these markets play around, zooming into the smaller time frames is going to give you a much better, I guess, aggregate of data to what you're seeing. So here we are now on the 45-minute time frame, and we can see much more clearly that we've found a hard area of growth. Now, there's a very strong trend line that started to build here too. we'll put it like this. It's basically right on top of the 45 minutes 200 simple moving average. And again, we're even, I mean, you could even speculate that we're climbing up into a pennant. Sorry, is this a pennant or a wedge? No, a rising wedge. You could look at this as a rising wedge to some degree, although you do also have an opening up pattern here which started to take place. So even though it looks like I'm randomly drawing lines, what we see is that we have not been able to break out into this area here, and this is an important area for us. I do have the volume profile fill turned off at the moment, but I do know that we're also sitting around a large area of support on that fill around $11,500. So with Bitcoin's price right now, I do suspect that we're going to come back down. We'll probably test the $11,500 area. If we can't break that, if we break below that, then we're definitely going to come down, test 11,000, and potentially again lower. Like I said, the $9,300 area would be the next break after around 11,000. We would come down quite quickly after that, aside from a few spikes. So again, one of the entertaining parts about here is not just leaning into what you think is going to happen, but it's trying to test and back test all the areas of data that you've already acquired. So Bitcoin right now is not looking like it's going to break out of this, but again, we have another few days into this triangle of around, let's see, October 11th, October 12th, where we finally have like a breakdown or breakout decision. If we break above this trend line here and start to continue up and above this one, we could become bullish very quickly, and we could move into the $20,000 area. Although Bitcoin, I think, is likely here to give us a fake out and provide that other big 30% drop from where we are now. And again, although there's a few other aligning factors like the bullish engulfing candles that we had seen, which are posted in the Facebook group. If you want, you can join us on Facebook, you can follow us on Telegram. We've got areas everywhere for you guys can communicate. We've got a giveaway on Twitter right now where if you follow us and retweet our pinned tweet, you entered into a contest to win $150 in Bitcoin. So we're just trying to make sure that we have conversations in as many areas as possible, because we know everyone likes to congregate in different areas of the space. So we're actually going to jump into Litecoin and Ethereum now. And again, what's important here is I think that everyone, at least as far as I'm concerned, which is, you know, just my conjecture in my particular space, should not be charting versus US dollars. I think that's a very ignorant thing to do. I think any chartist that's doing that is vastly ignoring the other areas of data which are fundamental and not just technical. So again, what I would like to reiterate here, that trading itself, I very rarely look at fundamentals, and I'm also only looking at technicals. The only area when I'm looking at fundamentals for tokens like this is their volume, and I use that volume as an indicator to help me decide whether I think that this token is going to continue to move upwards. So I'm going to move out on the chart here for Litecoin and give us a little bit more functional data, because it's been a large spike back down very quickly, and we're now testing previous areas of support and resistance for Litecoin. So with Litecoin here, we have this bottom right here at around 7,500 Satoshis. Now, this doesn't become as uniquely understandable as it should until you take a much longer time frame, and this is why I suggest that everyone that's invested in Litecoin get out at the tops, because it has multiple years of history where it comes back down to the bottom. Versus Bitcoin's price, it has never left this range. As a matter of fact, it's become more likely that it stays tighter in the range because we lost some of these massive spikes in Litecoin's price versus Bitcoin over the years, and we've actually become more stable. Now, again, this is so super important to note, because Litecoin has had lots of volume come into it in the past, where we've seen 170, 200% growth versus Bitcoin, and even recently here with December, 129% growth, but that's all been erased. If you've been sitting in Litecoin, you have no gains. You've lost all the gains in terms of Bitcoin's price since this took off here, because if you're only invested in, if you're in the long-term hold position when Bitcoin goes up, all of your gains will be wiped out in terms of Bitcoin price, and that's what I'm concerned about here. I'm not trying to acquire more US dollars. I'm solely interested in, these alternative assets versus Bitcoin. So anyone who Litecoin in US dollars is just making a mockery of understanding the fundamental of Bitcoin, which is, if you're in this space, like I am, I believe Bitcoin is going to become the fundamental rail and like traffic source for monetary remittance at scale, which means it could be worth tens of millions of dollars. So trading outside of that, the only reason I'm interested in Litecoin is because I can use it to gain more Bitcoin with a less risky trade in terms of, you know, going out and getting wrecked on BitMEX by doing leveraged longs or shorts. Although we will get into some more very useful and impactful ways to go long or to go short to actually hedge and protect your bets. That will be part of our educational series and just about general investing and finances at large. So even though Litecoin could have provided this big, you know, 138% return on Bitcoin's price, if you didn't exit, it's all gone. Just like that, it disappeared. So I think this is important for many reasons. Now, where do we find support for Litecoin? Well, you know, here this is where we'll open up the volume profile indicator. Volume profile, let's go to fixed, visible range. That way we can see where we're actually charting to. And let's give the multi-week, multi-year area of, okay. So if we break through this 7,000 Satoshi area, we're probably going to come down all the way to around 5,000 Satoshis. So there's still a lot of room for downside on Litecoin. Again, for all the Bear family members that were here over the last two months, we exited Litecoin around 15 to 17,000 Satoshis, and we said, don't even look back. Our original entry targets were here, and we exited, and now we're not interested in touching Litecoin until Bitcoin gives us further confirmations. Oh, seems like I may have dropped out there for a second. Hopefully everything's good. I will take one quick last look at Ethereum here, and then I see some of you guys are asking questions about Maddock, etc. So I will take a look at Maddock as well. So here we are, Ethereum versus Bitcoin's price. We exited Ethereum somewhere out here in the mid of May. Where was it? May 2018. Right here, yeah, right at that secondary top, because we realized that Ethereum was going to probably come down hard and fast. And we took everything back into Bitcoin May of 2018. We only started speculating on other tokens mid-November and mid-March here when we saw Raven do 600% twice. Again, these are huge gains that we saw in other areas of token representation, but only if you're able to follow the whale. This is not about following, I fundamentally believe that Ethereum is going to be this awesome vessel. If whales aren't pouring money into it, this price is not going to go up. And Ethereum right now is currently at some of the lower volume area and vestige supports, which could put us as low as around 1 million Satoshis, or maybe even lower, around 390,000, depending on what part of this wave we come to test. Anyways, I'll leave that quick at there. In terms of Maddock, we're not going to touch it again until we see further consolidation on Bitcoin's price. We saw 100% gain in Maddock in just a few days' time. It was a beautiful spike for anyone that had caught it off in the private bear family. I know there are a few of you that did, and you made huge gains. Let's see, 80%. Even if you only caught like an abridged version of this, you're talking about 40 to 50% gains in less than 24 hours. So Maddock on the 45-minute has come back down and actually showing a fair amount of support and resistance on the daily bear, on the 45-minute bear clause here. So we could see another big spike, but after an 80% gain in Maddock, I would be a little bit more inclined to think that it's going to come back and retest these areas. On the long term, I don't look at anything unless I'm watching Bitcoin's price. So when I do that, I always have two screens open. I have, say, if I'm charting Maddock, and I've got Bitcoin open on the other screen, because I believe if you're not watching Bitcoin, you're going to get ruined. The other thing is, use a stop loss. If you think you're a trader and you're not using stop losses, or if you're a trader and you're not telling other people to use stop losses all the time, you suck and you shouldn't be here. Stop losses are the most important thing when it comes to trading. If you're not using a stop loss and you think you're a trader, you're lying to yourself. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. This Deal with the Arcane Bear. Thank you for joining us. This is a short little live update. I guess we're going to have to be producing videos for YouTube every day, because as soon as we stop producing one video, they massively cut back our views. The algorithm nowadays is just relentless. If you're not producing content, and getting your view time and watch time up, YouTube just throws you in the gutter. I mean, I took only a week off, and the drastic cut in numbers is noticeable. So I guess from now on, even if it's only like a 5-minute video that I do for my phone, I am going to produce content all the time, even if it's not as well produced or well volume, because I think you guys are just interested to hear my thoughts and what's going on. So again, thank you for all the support. Give us the thumbs up if you like this content. Give us the thumbs down if you don't. Leave your thoughts, your comments, your questions below. If you're interested in joining our private trading group, this is for people that are, have the time and the money to invest into becoming better traders. It's a long-term idea. I don't suggest it for newbies unless you know that you're willing to invest, 2 to 5 years of study here, because it does not come quickly. You're not like, oh, I'm going to become a trader overnight. Any speculative trading takes years, and sometimes only takes a very short few minutes to execute. I remember when we were riding Raven here in November, it was only like maybe a week or two where we caught like a 600% gain. And you only need one trade like that per year. You don't need to be running around and trading like a broken jack horse. I don't even know what a jack horse is, but here you can see Raven on the weekly right now. We caught in right around the 430 Satoshi mark. We sold up around 1,000. We've pulled off 200% in less than 42 days. This is the type of trading I'm interested in this space, and this is what's possible when you know how to enter at a very low consolidation point before volume comes in, and then take profits, because you're going to lose all of it in terms of reconciliation. Same with Litecoin, same with Ethereum. If there's tops, you get the fuck out, because this ecosystem is growing as a whole. Anyways, this is Tea with the Arcane Bear. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be just doing content all the time now, because I don't want YouTube to spank me so hard, because I know, just like me enjoying your guys' company, you also enjoy my company. So I will keep it consistent and relentless regardless, even if I just have to do videos from my phone to talk about the market. So thank you guys all for those of you that did get the updates, because like, man, I just am blown away by how much YouTube cuts you out of the algorithm when you just take it was a week off. I took a week off to pack up the farm and get ready to move out of here, and it just cuts you off at the knees. Anyways, I don't want to bitch and complain, because I'm super grateful for YouTube, but damn, that algo cut me off. We'll see you guys on the other side. Boom.